Good morning, Shavua Tov, Agotavach. Welcome to the Kila Chari Torah Halacha review for Sunday, February the 7th. We're talking about the laws of reading the Megillah. We spoke before Shabbos about making the brachas. Someone who's an avel, God forbid, no one should ever be in mourning, but it happens sometimes, and that person is reading the Megillah for others, should not say the brachas, because an avel, someone who's mourning, does not recite the Shechianu bracha publicly. We spoke about this also with regard to Hanukkah, about menorah lighting in the shul, that someone who is an avel is not the one to light, should not be the one to light the menorah on the first night of Hanukkah, because they'll say Shechianu. We don't. An avel, someone who's mourning, doesn't say that publicly. However, they do say it at home. So someone else makes the brachas, then the avel goes on and continues with the Megillah reading. The mourning period. When we're speaking about being an avel, we're speaking about 12 months for a parent, Rahman al-Atzlan, and 30 days for any other immediate relative. How is the Megillah read? The Megillah must be read from a kosher Megillah scroll. In other words, written by a sofer with proper ink on kosher parchment and so on, a kosher Megillah that we have one in the shul. The Balkara should be looking into the Megillah at the words that are being read and not say them from memory. If you say it from memory, it's not called reading, it's called reciting. However, if some words were recited from memory, as long as less than half the Megillah was read in this way, they fulfilled their obligation. A careful Balkara will follow along very carefully in the scroll, just like a careful Torah reader will also, to ensure that they're not saying from memory, rather that they're actually reading it from the words that are written on the klaf there. The Balkara and those listening must stand while listening to the brachas of the Megillah. However, during the actual reading, those listening may sit. The Balkara should stand in honor of the kehillah, of the group. The Balkara is allowed to support himself by leaning while reading the Megillah if it's difficult for him to stand that long. In the event one's reading the Megillah for himself or for only fewer than 10, the person may be seated after the reader may be seated after the brachas are recited. In order to fulfill the mitzvah of Megillah reading, the reader must have in mind that they are reading on behalf of those listening, both with the brachas and with the Megillah reading also. And those listening should have in mind that they are fulfilling the mitzvah both with the brachas of the Balkara and with the reading of the Megillah. The obligation to hear the reading of the Megillah is such that one needs to hear every word clearly by the Megillah reader. From a halachic perspective, hearing means that one's focus is on listening to those words. If a person is reading or doing something else during the Megillah, it's not possible that they can have their focus, have their attention on the words of the Megillah, therefore they don't fulfill their obligation. In addition, even if one's not actually engaged in other activities but is not focused on what's being read, the technical term that the author of the Sefer gives here is, in quotes, spacing out. That's the technical term there. He does not fulfill the obligation of hearing the Megillah reading. Certainly if one's dozing off, they have not fulfilled the mitzvah. You can't hear it in an open sense if you are snoozing. One who missed hearing even a single word of the Megillah and the omission of that word changes the meaning of a verse must read the Megillah again with a bracha from the point where they missed to the end. If the omission does not change the meaning of the verse, one should also read or hear again from the point that they missed. However, in this case, it would seem they don't say a bracha. Okay? Tune in tomorrow for some practical solutions for how to concentrate when listening to the hearing the reading of the Megillah. Bye-bye.